way that you plan your week right now is the reason why you're stuck under $1 million a year, and I can prove it to you in the next few minutes. Now, if you're new here, my name is Yusuf. I made over $1 million in profit before 17. I made over $20 million for my clients, and I believe that most online entrepreneurs are just simply building a job, not a real business. And so my goal is to help people exactly like you build real businesses that they're actually wanting and willing to scale in the next 10, 20, even 30 years to come. And right now, you're unable to do so because your calendar is simply full and you're always constantly behind. So here's what's happening and exactly how to fix it, because we can never fix a problem without you actually going ahead and knowing what this problem is. So you're probably doing something what I used to do, where at the start of the week, let's just say you open up your calendar and you start filling it with tasks. So let's just say you'll have your calendar open and you have Monday. So let's just say you want to take in some client calls on Monday. You maybe want to edit some videos. You want to maybe write some emails, right? Then let's just say on Tuesday, you want to send, some invoices. You want to have some, by the way, pardon my very crappy handwriting, but you might want to work on the offer, right? You might want to have some more calls, right? And then you're kind of just like filling in your calendar exactly like this. And so what ends up happening is then, Wednesday hits and then you're kind of like, hold on, wait a second, right? So maybe you're even planning out for Wednesday, but then you'll be realizing like, hold on, half the stuff from Monday, like let's just say I finished some calls ran in late. And so I wasn't, let's just say, able to edit, or I wasn't able to send in the emails that I wanted to send. And so half the stuff from Monday isn't even done. And so Tuesday's tasks, like I have calls that I got pushed back to Wednesday, or I have some invoices that I forgot to send on Tuesday. And so Tuesday's tasks got pushed. And so now you're just essentially doing whatever feels the most urgent, which feels like, oh, like this is what I have to do now because it's due, or this client's asking me for something or whatever. And so essentially you're never making any real progress on your big tasks, on your big goals. You're essentially just constantly putting out fires in your business. And so by Friday, if you continue, like, let's just say if you continue doing all this stuff until Friday, what you've actually like look back, when you look back at your week and you're like, hey, what did I actually accomplish this week? You realize like, oh, well, I didn't really accomplish anything. I kind of just like was doing busy work. And the reason was, right, the calendar was full every single day, but nothing exactly in this calendar kind of moved anything and everything forward. And the simple reason why this is happening is because you're planning from the bottom up. You're starting essentially with random tasks. So you're just like going like, what should I do on Monday? I think I should do XYZ. And I have that call with this guy and they scheduled in a call with my sales team. So I'm going to hop on there. And so you're essentially starting and planning your day and your week up with random tasks and hoping they add to some sort of progress. And the thing is, if you're trying to genuinely operate as a multi-million-dollar CEO, this is really, guys, this is genuinely is what's going to separate you from being like another one of those 10, 20, 50K a month, 100K a month type of guys. And people are making, millions and millions a year. This is really what's going to separate you from that. When you're doing these kind of random tasks and hoping they add up to progress, the thing is, they'll never add up to any progress. Then they never do. And so you just add up to a full calendar exactly like this, right? And what ends up happening is that you'll essentially become a burnt out founder. Now, what I do is quite the opposite. I essentially plan from the top down, and it only takes me 30 minutes once a week, and I'm able to essentially structure everything, and I don't have to worry about a lot of the stuff that we just talked about here. So what I essentially do, the first thing, this is like once a month, not every single week I do this exact step, but essentially what I do is I pick the three projects that I need to focus on this month. And I'm talking about 3 things max, right? And so these are essentially the only things that matter this month. Everything else, right? Everything that I should be doing in my week should be pushing one of these 3 objectives forward. If it's not connected to these 3 projects, then I'm simply just not doing it. And so for this month, my 3 priorities are uploading once a day. So that's my first priority. Upload once daily. Again, pardon my bad handwriting. This is my first video with the iPad. Let me know if you guys prefer the videos with the iPad or the other style better. But essentially this month, upload once a day, and then finish my success map platform and app, right? Mobile app coming soon, by the way. And the third thing would be to finish 1 module of my curriculum, which is Inner Operating System. If you're interested, the link's down below. I don't really want to pitch it too hard because, it's kind of like a if you know type of thing. Okay, so once you have the 3 different priorities, this is essentially where most founders already lose, because they'll have, 10 different priorities or 12 different priorities instead of just 3. And so when everything is important for you, it actually means that nothing's important, right? You have 0 priorities. So I want you to just pick your 3 most important priorities that will actually get money in the bank this month. It's going to move the needle forward. It's going to push you to where you want to be by the end of the year, right? That's it. If you nail these 3 things down, right, the month is essentially a success. It's a win, and you'll actually feel like you've accomplished something. Now, the second step is to essentially break down each one of these projects into weekly focuses. So now that I've gotten, my 3 monthly projects, I'll sit down Sunday night or Monday morning, and I'll sit down and ask one question for each one of these projects. What needs to happen this week in order for me to make real progress on every single one of these things? So let's just take the idea of uploading daily and posting daily. So what is it is the one thing that I need to do this week in order to actually go ahead and accomplish something for this project? For me, it's very simple. It's just, 7 videos done, right? And then let's just say like from there, obviously I have to like upload. I have to do so from here, it's like, well, I need to like ideate, and then I also need to like script write. I need to like record. I need to do a bunch of other things. And so essentially what I've gone ahead and done is I've gone from 3 big projects to 8 or 9 very specific weekly tasks that I need to do. But here's the thing, like the idea of like, let's just say saying, oh, like let's just ideate 7 videos or let's just script write 7 videos. That is still too big for you to just put on a calendar. And this is what most people do. They'll just have like a big ass block of time on their calendar, just saying like, yo, like this time is dedicated for me to script write a video, or this is where I'm going to go ahead and focus on content, right? And so this next step going forward is what actually makes this whole thing work. So step number 3 is essentially breaking it down until it's stupid small. And so this is the step that changed everything for me. I essentially take every single one of these weekly tasks and I break it down to the smallest possible subtask possible. So essentially like the whole like filming 7 videos down, right? It essentially becomes like a lot of mini subtasks. So like, let's just say the first thing that I need to do is ideate, right? So this is kind of like one idea of its own, right? And then I can break that down into different subtasks. So ideation could be looking at competitors. Pardon my handwriting. I can understand it. I'm sorry if you guys can't understand it. Anyway, so it could be like looking at competitors. Then it could also be looking at stats of my own YouTube videos. So I can go ahead and break it down into so many different tasks for this like one task, which is ideation. And then the next task would be script writing. So for me, script writing, so I'll just say script. So I'll first start with writing hooks, and then I'll write the outline, right? Then I'll usually review the outline, and then I'll go ahead and start filling out the actual content. And then from there, I'll go ahead and do a final review. And then, yeah, that's basically it. From there, I'll kind of like send it over to recording. And so from there, I can then go ahead and move this over to recording. And so the same thing, I can break it down into very small tasks. And then what I'll go ahead and do is essentially I'll go ahead and go to each one of these tasks, and I'll go ahead and add a estimated time. So like, let's just say the idea of looking at competitors, I might, spend, 15 minutes on this one task to ideate for 7 videos. And so maybe looking at my own statistics, that might take me 10 minutes, right? So I'll go ahead and write all of that stuff down. I'll write down how long it's going to take me for every single one of these things. And so I'll kind of write down how long each one of these tasks is actually going to take me right next to the task itself. And so every single subtask has a time next to it. I'm not talking about time in hours. I'm talking about time in minutes, because essentially when you say like, oh, I'm going to spend an hour on content, what ends up happening is that you'll spend 20 minutes just figuring out what exactly it is that you're trying to do. And then you'll have 15 minutes where you probably get distracted because you don't have a concrete plan of exactly what it is that you're trying to do. And so when you say like, okay, I'm going to spend 50 minutes looking at competitors, you essentially have like no room to waste time. You know exactly what you're doing and exactly when you need it done. And so there's like a huge deadline that you have to finish it by. And so let's just say, for example, like if I haven't done a task before, and this is like sometimes you might not know how long a task exactly is going to take, the best thing that you can do is overestimate, right? So I would always rather have 10 extra minutes rather than be 10 minutes behind, because once you essentially fall behind on one task, the whole kind of day dominoes, and it's not really a good thing to do. Now, once you kind of have that, you move on to the 4th step, which is essentially grouping by type and scheduling with buffers. And so this is the last step that I take. I'll basically take all these like micro tasks and I'll group them by their specific category. So let's just say, for example, I'll go ahead and take all of my ideation tasks and all the tasks that require me to think in a creative manner. I'll go ahead and circle them in blue. And then let's just say I'll go ahead and take all of my scripting tasks where I have to script something, and I'll go ahead and circle them in red, right? Let's just say I'm going to individually circle them, but just for, simplicity's sake, you kind of just like understand it. So you kind of like highlight the thing in red, right? So obviously you're going to have like a really long list. You're going to go down and you're going to basically highlight it or group them in the different categories that you'll have. So like, let's just say sometimes you're going to have like different tasks. Like, let's just say maybe you're working on a website. And so part of the working on the website or the funnel requires you strategic thinking or creative thinking. And then another part of it is copywriting. So that's like another subcategory of. Then what I go ahead and do is when I'm going ahead and planning out my calendar. So like, let's just say this is my calendar day so far. What I go ahead and do is I basically make sure that all of the tasks that are in one category, I put them all in one block. So for example, all of my creative brainstorming tasks, they would all go into like my first block of the day. Like, let's just say this is my first block of the day. And so this is where they will kind of all go. And then right after it, let's just say I'm going to go ahead and schedule in sort of my script writing or my copywriting sort of tasks. And so all of these tasks are there in their own separate block. Now what ends up happening, and this is what most people kind of do, and this is what we shouldn't do, is let's just say you'll have like a task about, script writing over here. And then you go ahead and switch it over to a brainstorming task. And then you might switch it over to filming a video, and that might take you a while. file, right? And then you might have a client call in the middle, so that will come over here, and then you're back to let's just say script writing again. And so you're kind of like flip-flopping and you're switching around the different blocks. You're bouncing between, you know, writing a script and then taking a client call, and you're doing all these sorts of things. But the issue is when you switch from one category to another, right? Let's just say when you're going from script writing to you going ahead and talking to a client, the issue with that is that your mind actually has a buffer. It takes time to switch between one category to the next. And so what ends up happening if you have like an hour dedicated to this first one over here, and then you have 45 minutes to this next one over here, what ends up happening is from these 45 minutes, 10 to 15 of those minutes actually just go towards just switching your mind from this mode to this mode. And so overall, you just have 30 minutes, like you just basically have 30 minutes left from this 45-minute task. And chances are you can't get the work that you had allocated 45 minutes in 30 minutes, or else you just allocated the 30 minutes to it in the first place. And so what ends up happening is this then goes ahead and scooches down to the other one, or you just leave the task unfinished. And so this is why it feels like, oh, well, I dedicated time to this today, but it felt like nothing got done. This is the thing, right? This is the main issue. And so what I basically go ahead and do is then I take my own blocks that I have over here, where I have all the different subtasks inside of these blocks, and I go ahead and basically schedule them on my calendar. So if a task requires 10 minutes, it literally will take 10 minutes on my calendar. I'm not giving it a whole hour, I'm not giving it 30 minutes, because the Google Calendar defaults to 60 minutes. That doesn't mean I'm going to give it 60 minutes. If something requires 20 minutes, then I'm going to give it 20 minutes. I'm not going to give it some round number because, you know, Google Calendar makes it easier, or because it's just easier to have. When I have strict deadlines for myself that say I'm going to finish this task by X amount of time, if I'm working from 6 to 6:10 on, you know, getting to the gym and getting ready to the gym, or, you know, from 9 a.m. to 9:15 on ideating by looking at my competitors, you know, videos, then this is exactly what I'm going to do. It's not going to take me all this long. I'm not going to go ahead and bounce around and do all these different things and waste time, because that's super inefficient and it's super unproductive. And so the last piece, the thing that holds all of this together, is buffers. And I like to put 15 to 20 minutes of empty space between my blocks, because something always kind of goes over the time that it's allocated, right? Maybe a call runs over, maybe a task takes longer than expected. And so if you don't have buffers, then one thing, right, going 10 minutes late is going to ruin your whole entire afternoon. And so it's going to ruin your whole day. It's going to ruin your whole week. And so it's going to ruin your whole plan for the month. And so with buffers, you're able to absorb it and you're able to keep going. And so your day doesn't fall apart because one call just ran, you know, 10 minutes or 12 minutes over. So essentially, this is the full system, right? You have your month, it goes into the week, and then it goes into micro tasks with the exact times. Then you group it by type, and then you go ahead and schedule it with buffers. You'll spend, you know, 30 minutes on a Sunday night, and then essentially, for me personally, my entire week is locked in. I don't have to wake up wondering what exactly I need to do. I just open my calendar and I execute.